Been sewing all my life in the sense that I started when I was a kid, but I don't sew that well, and I've really only been sewing a lot in the last few years, and I'm realizing how much there is that I don't know. And so I feel like this job it's like a constant learning um, game of being able to, even if I just see people on their way out at the register and I'm checking them out and ringing them up and I see things that I noticed on the floor and I wasn't sure what it was, and I just asked them like, hey, what are you going to use that for? Like, I see you're buying a lot of upholstery fabric. Are you making, like, you covering a couch, or what are you doing? And people, I mean, you can't like chit chat with every person that comes by, but I've developed a lot of relationships with people that come often. There's a lot of regulars actually. There are people that come, not every day, but people come to scrap every week. I mean, people come to see what's new. They want to see like what we've just put out. We do put a lot of stuff online, so we announce things that come in. So people like really respond to that, and will come in like that day and say, "Oh yeah, we saw some spandex got delivered. Like, is that on the floor yet?" And it's great. It's always changing, and we're often overwhelmed with donations. We're rarely like, bored. We generally are trying to like assimilate all this stuff that is coming to us at varying degrees of like, fire hose intensity, and we just do our best to get it out as quickly as possible. Some things are so nice that we sit on them for a while and we price them a little bit differently. But the vast majority of things that come in here are super cheap, and we make them available as quick as we can to teachers and artists and students and people that, can't afford to not only live in this city, which is crazy expensive, but also like try and make art in the city and, hold down a job that's not paying them enough. It's like an oasis for them, because they would not be able to do what they do if they had to shop and acquire all these things at different places, or even if they bought it all at the same store, or whatever, wherever they find their things. Usually it's, people are constantly telling us that they would not be creative. They wouldn't have the resources to do what they do if it wasn't for us. So that is really the most rewarding part of working here.
So you've got a community building thing going on, and
Yeah.
and for yourself personally, how does when you reuse things, how does that make you feel?
Well, I mentioned earlier it makes me kind of proud in a way. My mom was a big recycler, kind of a radical recycler in the 70s, and I just grew up around that. She was also a seamstress, so she taught me how to sew. She also taught me the importance of not just throwing things out when they don't work, or they tear, or they rip. If it's something that you can repair it. She lived through the Great Depression, and she never outgrew that sense of like, we don't know how much of this we're going to have. We need to ration everything. That was kind of just a mentality that she kept throughout her life, not in a negative way, but in a like, yeah, let's reuse things, let's fix things, let's mend things so that we don't have to run off to the store. She really was very, very opposed to even the word disposable. She thought that was just kind of a horrible invention that we came up with, things that were disposable. She thought everyone should be issued one thing that they use for their entire life, whether that be, clothing, or, pots and pans, and, glass bottles that you drink out of. She just didn't think that we should be so quick to use things that we just throw away. There's just no, except for the people selling those things, it's just not really, no one's winning.
And so obviously you've adopted her philosophy as well, and how does it help this reuse with your mental well-being?
My well-being,
Yeah.
in particular, I feel like, again, proud, not because I feel like I'm doing her proud or like I'm making her proud, although I know that I am. I just feel like it's kind of taking the higher road. It's not necessarily easy. You could go to Target, you could go to Gap and just buy your clothes and just buy everything made, and it's made in China or wherever it's made, it doesn't matter, but it's easy. It's definitely the path of least resistance to just go out and buy stuff and to make things out of scraps and to like piece together things that normally would get thrown out is just, I don't know, it's very rewarding for me personally. I feel like I'm not saving the planet, but I'm like, I'm not I'm not what's the word? Um, I'm not adding to the problem. I feel like you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And when you divert things from landfill and you make really cool stuff with them, whether it be clothing or just, a new hat, it's it just feels good. It feels like you're part of the solution.
And how big is the problem? Like, what is the potential to do more of this kind of?
I feel like we are just. You mentioned the word like we're such a small. Like what we're doing is just, in the lowest percentage of what's out there getting thrown out. I mean, what we get is just. We're just skimming the top. I mean, there are manufacturers that work with us, there's lots of individuals that work with us, and they're so happy to have a place to bring things and divert landfill from, but I feel like it could be so much bigger, and it should be bigger in every city, and we have people come from all over the country who have heard of this particular scrap, I think because it was, considered to be the first, and it's in San Francisco, which is a great place to visit. So people come here, but they come to scrap like having heard of it, and having never had an experience like this in the city where they live, and they just unanimously say there should be a scrap where I live. And so clearly the message we're getting is there should be a scrap in every city, if not country, town, county, because people make stuff everywhere, and there's always waste, there's always remnants, there's always unused stuff that gets put somewhere or stashed somewhere or just thrown out, and it's costing these companies money to throw it out because that's not free. You can't just, take things to the dump and drive out of there without paying for it. So I just think that city governments, state governments should make it easier for, especially like apparel manufacturers. I mean, sectors of manufacturing that just create so much waste and it's so reusable. They should be nudged towards finding a place like us to donate it to, and if there isn't a place like us, there should be something created. I mean, a scrap should be created in every void where there is one, which is everywhere, because we've got scrap Portland, scrap Baltimore, scrap Austin, scrap here and there, but there needs to be like a nationwide, if not worldwide, but we can start a little smaller, and just I think this network should be built out, and this model should be duplicated and rubber stamped all over. I think people love coming to scrap. People love finding good deals, cheap stuff, bargains, and vintage things also. Like not just, oh hey, this is cheaper than the fabric store, but like, wow, this is from the 60s, and this is like a beautiful hand embroidered thing that I'll never find anywhere else. That's like, the magic.